What is up, my brothers and sisters, my agents of respect? It's your boy Trey Johnson back with another episode of the No Disrespect Bud podcast. Before we get started, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Always feel free to comment. Just make sure you keep those comments respectful. And if you're interested in supporting your favorite podcast, yours truly, the link to do so will be in the episode description. I know it's been a while, but guess what? I come bearing great news. Football season, and it's no offense to the USFL or XFL, whatever it's called now, USL, but football, there as we know it, is back, right? NFL, college football is on the horizon. It's back, and we should be excited. I'm excited. There's so many teams with some fresh starts, new coaches, new quarterbacks, new coordinators, things of that nature. Obviously, new draft picks that have come between the 7 rounds in the NFL draft. Great opportunity to see some guys fight for spots, maybe some mid-round picks, late-round picks, maybe guys who were first-round picks but kind of on the fringe and need to fight for their right to stay on the roster nowadays because they maybe haven't panned out the way the teams that drafted them thought they might. You're seeing some guys get a fresh start elsewhere, like a Russell Wilson and a Justin Fields, both getting that start for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Obviously, Kirk Cousins with the Atlanta Falcons. But you got Sam Darnold over in Minnesota. So many things to think about. So many storylines coming into this NFL season, and it's just so exciting, so refreshing to talk about a sport where I feel like, for the most part, everybody's respected. I've been having to deal with all this basketball discourse, especially going into the Olympic season, where we can't have conversations anymore or productive conversations because everybody's looking for a one-liner or a way to disrespect either a current player or a player of the past. So now getting to a sport that knows a little bit about respect for its elders, so to speak, but also a level of respect for the guys holding the torch today. But that's not what I'm here to talk about, right? We got a lot of things going in the preseason. And I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second pretty soon here, but just kind of want to set the stage, right? So the first technically preseason game every year is the Hall of Fame game. And this year we had the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears. And coming up this Thursday is kind of the start of the true preseason. You got Carolina, New England, Detroit versus the Giants. Friday, you got Atlanta, Miami, Houston, Pittsburgh, Philly, Baltimore. Saturday is going to have 9 games, which includes the Saints versus the Cardinals. And then you got 2 on Sunday, which I think one of the games are the Dallas Cowboys versus the Los Angeles Rams. And what I saw on last Thursday, the Hall of Fame game, has kind of sparked today's episode. Now, I will say this isn't on a whim thing. This is something that has bothered me at least for maybe the past 3 or 4 years now, is that starters are not playing in the preseason. And when I was growing up, and look, I'm not even 30 yet, but when I was growing up, like especially for preseason games, like you went to that, especially because you got to see your guys play for 4 games. Now your starters might play a series, maybe two, just to get the juices flowing, get the competitive juices flowing, making sure, hey, we got some new guys on the team. We need to see how they work with some of our core guys on the team, that type of thing. And back in those times, you had 4 preseason games. So the starters might play spot duty, the first and second games. But third game of the preseason was what we would call the dress rehearsal, where the starters played pretty much the whole first half. And then the last game was where pretty much all the backups played. It was the guys who were fringe on the roster having a chance to make that last-ditch effort to earn a roster spot. And it was a good system. I loved it. And now, we've gone to 3 games. There's talk about the NFL going to 2 preseason games and adding another game to the regular season, so an 18-game season. And a 2-game preseason, which I'm totally against, because I felt like a lot of Hall of Fame careers were made in the preseason. I think reducing that kind of takes away guys' opportunity. Maybe keeps you stuck with a high prize pick or a high pick just because you have to and you've invested so much, but not having a chance to really see how they compare or compete with guys who may be mid-rounders or undrafted and might be better for your team. I just feel like a 2-game preseason doesn't allow you to truly evaluate your roster. Because we know just because sometimes people are practice guys and some guys people are game guys and some people are fortunate enough to be both. And when I think of what it used to be and how starters took the preseason seriously because hey, we got to get this rhythm going because when the season gets here, we want to be ready. We want to be sharp. We want to start winning games right away, get ourselves to a playoff spot and potentially a Super Bowl. And somewhere down the line, teams just stopped doing it. They stopped taking it seriously. I mean, when you have a star quarterback, you might say, you know what, I don't want to risk my guy getting injured. I get that. That's part of the game. But guess what? The guy can get also injured in practice. He can get injured freaking walking to the facility. It just happens. It's football. So you never want to put that mindset in there in the first place. And but I still kind of get it. But what bothers me, okay, is not just resting. It's not just starters in general not playing the preseason. What bothers me the most is that non-playoff teams are resting starters. Let's go back to the Hall of Fame game, a game that's big. It's supposed to be honoring those that have paved the way for our great game and did so much during their playing careers. They get to the Hall of Halls, right? Houston didn't play their starters. Hey, I get it. You went to the playoffs last year with a rookie coach and a rookie quarterback and a young defense. I get that. But guess what? You haven't done shit yet. You won a playoff game, and guess what? You lost the next week. Okay? You have a second-year quarterback. Is the guy freaking Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees in year two? No. What has he done in this league to say, yeah, he doesn't need more reps in the preseason? Chicago Bears, you have the number one overall pick, albeit via trade, but you had the ninth overall pick, so you were still picking in the top 10 this year, even if you didn't have Carolina's pick. Okay? You have a rookie quarterback. What's going on? Why can't we see Caleb Williams? What has he done? He doesn't deserve game reps? Are we going to sit him out the whole preseason, maybe play him for the dress rehearsal as if he's some 10-year veteran that has been doing the damn thing for a long time, has wins, has playoff wins, has a Super Bowl or two on his resume? Why are we treating these guys like that? I swear, Jaden Daniels better not be sitting when the Commanders come to play, but he's a rookie. He needs this time. We know the game speeds up. What, you want to save him the embarrassment or whatever? Who cares? It's the preseason. It's where he should be able to make all of the mistakes in the world. So that way, when it's the regular season, he has that camaraderie with his teammates, his coaches, and they can get the ball rolling so they don't be losers again. For another year, they can actually start to implement some building blocks to being a competitive team again, instead of what they have been over the past few years. Carolina technically would have had back-to-back number one overall picks. Have a second-year quarterback in Bryce Young, who looked god-awful. Y'all know that's my Bama boy. Well, he looked god-awful. His offensive line looked god-awful. His wide receiver core looked god-awful. New head coach, who's technically the OC as well. New system. Well, I don't know if Bryce is going to play this preseason. I don't know how many steps. What do you mean? He needs it. He needs to work. You want to be picking first overall again? Is that the plan? Are we implementing a tanking model in the NFL? What has Bryce Young done to warrant, yeah, he doesn't have to play the preseason? As far as I'm concerned, he needs to be playing the whole preseason. Every game, the whole game. All the starters need to be playing the whole game. Let the bench guys figure it out in fucking practice. What has he done? Why are we treating guys like they have earned the right? What have they done? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but what have you done to warrant rest? What have you done to warrant the benefit of the doubt that practice time and film time is good enough for your preparation? What have you done? Nothing. New England, I want to see Drake May. I want to see Jacoby Brissett. I got to see what you guys look like. It's a quarterback competition. Detroit, hey, yeah, Jared Goff is showing some things, but guess what? You got to show me some more. I need to see how that goes. Not saying you got to play the whole game or every game in the preseason, but like you got to get some reps. Okay. New York Giants, Danny Dimes, you missed pretty much the whole year last year. You got a new receiver in Malik Neighbors. You're trying to figure out the offensive line situation. You need to be playing. Not saying you got to play the whole game. Guess what? You don't have a Saquon Barkley. We got to figure out what you look like. You got to build an identity without Saquon Barkley now. Not saying you got to show your whole playbook and show your whole hand, but you got to start to establish something. Atlanta, I know you're coming off an Achilles injury, Kirk, but if you're ready, you got to play. I heard, and you've been practicing in training camp and everything. You got to play. Michael Penix Jr. has to play. Tua, you got to play for Miami. You got to play. Yeah, you led the league in passing last year, but you choked in the postseason. You haven't won shit. You got to play. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, y'all got to play. What have you done? You haven't earned rest. Pittsburgh, I want to see Russell Wilson. I want to see Justin Fields. I want to see George Pickens. I want to see Minka Fitzpatrick. You haven't done anything. You got to play. Shit, Philly and Baltimore, they made the playoffs. Baltimore was #1 seed. And guess what? Baltimore is more than likely going to play their starters. I know Kansas City is going to play their starters a substantial amount of time because that's the Andy Reid way. That's the Harbaugh way, the John Harbaugh way. We're going to see Lamar Jackson for a little bit. Not saying we got to see the whole game. Not saying we got to see the whole playbook, but fans are coming to these games too. I think we're starting to make the preseason meaningless. And I just hate that. I hate that for the fans, hate that for the team. We're not getting any development. Just like it, and look, it's really a pet peeve of mine, right? Like I want to go through these numbers with you. There's 32 teams in the NFL, right? 18 missed the playoffs. Only 14 teams made it. 18 teams missed the postseason. Of those 18 teams, 13 had 8 wins or less. So out of 18 teams that missed the playoffs, 13 teams had 8 wins or less. So they were under 500. 9 of the teams have new quarterbacks. And look, I put the New York Jets in there because Aaron Rodgers played 4 plays, got hurt. Okay. So I included him. And I include the Titans because now Will, can't remember his name right now, but now he's preparing as the starter for a whole offseason, right? The quarterback, Will Levis from Kentucky. He's now having to prep as the starting quarterback. He didn't have that last year. They had Ryan Tannehill. Will was fighting for the QB2 competition with Malik Willis. Ended up beating him out, not necessarily in the preseason, but at least sometime in the season, beat him out and is the starting guy. But he's still relatively a rookie. You got Calvin Ridley, who just signed, so they got to build some type of rapport, all these things. So I included those. So even though they have quarterbacks who were on the roster last year, I feel like Will Levis needs to play more games. So it's effectively his first year truly as a starting quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers missed the whole season. He only played 4 plays last year. So there's 9 teams with new quarterbacks. Why would those teams ever dare not play the starter? Maybe I can understand the Jets because they're saying that Aaron Rodgers isn't quite back yet from his Achilles and they want to be cautious with him. I get that. But I want to see Will Levis getting a ton of reps. Okay? Maybe the Jets need to have their backup quarterback get a ton of reps in case Aaron Rodgers goes down again. You got to have a guy that you believe in, right? And we only have 3 preseason games now. We don't have that 4th preseason game. So, and then there's a chance that it's going to be going down to 2 within the next 2 to 3 years. So I feel like the starters should at least play two of those 3 games. They should. I think they owe that to themselves to really show how they're preparing. And I think they owe it to the fan base, the folks that are still going to these preseason games. Because at the end of the day, 18 teams, you guys were losers. And I say that respectfully, but you were. You missed out on the playoffs. You didn't have an opportunity to win the Super Bowl this past season. Why are you sitting guys? Hey, the Saints, they had a 2-win improvement. They were 7-10 in what 2022 and 2023. They go 9-8. But guess what? You haven't done shit. It was the same result. You won 2 more games, but had the same result. You missed the playoffs. Your offensive line was still shit. You couldn't run the ball. You didn't have a solid wide receiver core. You leaned on maybe 1 or 2 guys just a little bit too much. The tight end room is shaky. The defensive line needs some work. We're trying to figure out who can you start next to a Demario Davis. We're trying to figure out the safety rotation. We're trying to figure out the cornerback rotation, especially with Paulson Adebo and Marshawn Lattimore being hurt right now. And I'm under the assumption, because a lot of the talk has been about our quarterback 2 battle, that Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler are going to play a ton of the minutes in these 3 games, which I'm not opposed to. But what the hell has Derek Carr done, one in his career and 1A as a New Orleans Saint, to warrant rest? What has Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed or Cedric Wilson or A.T. Perry? What has Trevor Penny? What has Talisa Fuaga done? What has Eric McCoy done? Maybe he can get a rest, but what has he done in a post-Drew Brees era to say, yeah, you need to rest? Cesar Ruiz, you got paid, but guess what? Our offensive line's been shit. The starters need to play the whole preseason as far as I'm concerned, because we have no idea what we have on the offensive line. We're doing experience. We're taking Fuaga, who was a right tackle in college, and putting him at left tackle. We're taking Trevor Penning, who was a left tackle in college, and putting him at right tackle. We're taking Cesar Ruiz, who was a center in college. He's at right guard. We got Nick Salisbury at left guard. We got Eric McCoy at center. Don't really know the depth behind them. And so I get it. You're going to need to see some of those guys play as well. But not only should the starting offensive line be playing, they should be playing with their starting quarterback, which is Derek Carr. Because Derek Carr needs to show some flashes too. Guess what? We're in a new system. This is his 2nd year with the team and his 2nd system with the team. Clint Kubiak just got hired. He should have the right to work with his starting quarterback, and not just in practice. We need to see this in live action against a team that does not want you to succeed. You can't control what the defense does when you're going against the opposing team like you can do in the practice setting. You can say, hey, defense, I want you to run this while we're running this. You can do that. You can manipulate it. You can skew the data. You can't do that in a real NFL game. It's like flying bullets. You can't reenact that. So, what are we doing? As a New Orleans Saints fan, like, if I don't see, and look, I don't need Derek Carr to play a whole half or anything, but I think we should see him maybe in the first quarter of the first game. Why not? It's a new system. We want to see some, because the first quarter, there'll probably be, 2 possessions, maybe 3, that he gets to play. And if you see what you want to see in the first 1 or 2, like we did last year, we had 1 possession, did well, so we had to see, boom. James came in as QB2 at the time, so we need to see. Rest of it was the Jake Haener show. I think with the new system, I'd like to see the starters for the Saints play on both sides of the ball, play 2 series. You get 2 series, and then we figure it out with the backups. Excuse me. And we kind of bring them in, to take Derek Carr and Alvin Kamara out first, and you bring in, let's say, because Jake Haener is QB2 on the depth chart that just got released today. You bring Jake Haener, but you have Jamal Williams. You keep Fuaga in at left tackle. You maybe keep Saldiveri in at left guard. You sub in your center. You sub in your right guard for McCoy and Ruiz, respectfully. Maybe keep Trevor Penny at right tackle, and then maybe sub him out at halftime. So just kind of start to do some patchwork stuff. Maybe have Chris Olave in for a series with Jake Haener, Rashid Shaheed. Maybe flex a Cedric Wilson or A.T. Perry. Tipton, I think, is a guy that's starting to come on strong. Finagle the tight end room on defense, do some different lineups, maybe have Cam play a series, and then you bring in a Peyton Turner or Chase Young, Isaiah Foskey, so on and so forth. Do some patchwork with the DBs, maybe Marshawn Paulson, first series y'all starting. Then, hey, we're going to put Alante and Paulson outside. Then we're going to put Alante and Kool-Aid on the outside, and then we'll start to do some of the rotation guys. And I'm talking about the Saints right now, but I would like to see all the teams do that, especially the ones that missed the playoffs. Like, you've done nothing, literally nothing but lose. If you didn't make the playoffs, you didn't have an opportunity to vie for a Super Bowl, you had a losing season in my eyes. I don't give a damn about the record, okay? And I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong here, and feel free to comment, okay? Because maybe I'm thinking about it backwards. Maybe I'm just got the old man syndrome of the back in my day. But I feel like we're seeing worse and worse football, especially from the guys that are in starting positions, because they're not getting enough time. They don't get enough practice. They don't hit as much as they used to. Shout out to the players losing the CBA again. And now you're not playing the preseason games. When are you getting the actual work? Like, and unless you're kind of one of those guys, like even Drew Brees was playing pretty good minutes in preseason games, and he was a top 3 quarterback at the time. Peyton Manning was playing. Tom Brady was playing. Now we get to the point where nobody wants to play. Everybody wants to sit down, chew the fucking sunflower seeds or their juicy fruit, and wear the headset because it's cool. And you go out there and you shit the bed the first few weeks of the season, and you're talking about, oh, we gotta learn each other. Blah, 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 blah. I gotta learn the offense. That was the thing for the Saints last year. Oh, Derek has learned the offense. You know how he would have fucking learned the offense a whole lot quicker? Instead of learning it after week 10, had you played him all 3 preseason games. Let him get some work with his guys. Let him get some work with his offensive line and his wide receiver core and his running backs, and we can figure out what we're good at and what we're not so good at instead of taking, well, we look really good on that first drive. Let's see it in totality, and we can take every part of the glimpses in each of those games. We can put that together and say, okay, guys, this is where we are as a team, and we need to clean up on this shit starting week 1. Then we're going to look a whole lot better, okay? But expecting losing teams to automatically build winning habits, that's just insanity. You have to develop that. You got to develop that in the offseason, in practice, in training camp. And you got to develop that in preseason games. And stop having your top guys treated like it's nothing. If your top guys treated like it's nothing, guess who else is treating like it's nothing? The backups. And get it. I know some of these guys are fighting for their lives, but I think there's just a level of subconscious where maybe I don't try as hard because the guys ahead of me aren't trying as hard. And I just need to do bare minimum to stay in front of the guys behind me. And then when inevitable things happen, like injuries in professional sports, especially professional football, we're looking like deers caught in headlights because you don't know your assignment. You haven't practiced enough. You haven't played it in game mode enough, right? And I just feel like if you are a team that missed out on the playoffs, you should be demanding that your players play, that they earn the right. In my humble opinion, I feel like all 32 teams should have their starters play at least a series every game. No, at least 2 series every game. I feel like it, especially with just 3 preseason games. But I can concede to the 14 teams that showed that they were the best of the 32 last year. I can concede to them saying, you know what, we were one of the better teams in the league. We made the playoffs. We probably have a lot of returning guys that know each other. We're good. We don't need to do that. We know what we know. We need to see more so our depth. I can at least accept that. But you other 18, look in the mirror, man. Because I, as a Saints fan, I'm tired of losing. It's been 4 years of this shit. I'm tired of it. I want to win games. And y'all around here treating a moment to develop and get better at your craft and be ready for the start of the season so we can win some games, vie for a Super Bowl. You just poo-pooing over it. Like, well, I'm just going to play week 2 or week 3. I'm going to be fine. No, you're not fine. Hell, some teams, they carry 3 quarterbacks. So you got to see all 3. The Saints have 3 quarterbacks right now. One of them is dealing with skin cancer. I hope you shake back, Jake Hainer. They say it's, non-life-threatening, and I hope he shakes back. But with that in mind, why the hell wouldn't Derek Carr be playing some meaningful snaps in the first 2 preseason games? Jake just missed the practice. to get some procedure done. So yeah, I had Derek come in and play. And God, please let that offensive line needs to play. That starting defensive line needs to play. They have been the weak links on our roster for far too long. And if the trenches are your weak link, you are a sorry ass team, which we have been. And I can say that for a lot of the teams that sucked this past season. And guess what? We won 9 games. But hey, team like Carolina, you won 2. All y'all motherfuckers should be playing. Every single one. You should be demanding to your coaching staff that you're getting playing time, right? The Washington Commanders, y'all haven't won a damn thing since Kirk Cousins was your quarterback. Even though you got to the playoffs with Taylor Heineke, I'll admit that. But what are you doing? Jaden Daniels should be getting substantial playing time. Do you need to be doing read option bullshit with him? Probably not. But should he be getting a rapport with, Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson and guys like that? Yes, he should. Should he be getting reporters off the line? Yes, he should. New England, if it's a quarterback competition, hey, Jacoby Brissett, Drake May, uh, Joe, I can't remember his last name, but from Tennessee. Y'all gotta play. Y'all gotta play him. Joe Milton, yeah, Joe Milton the third. Y'all gotta play him. We gotta see. I think Malik Cunningham is still on the roster. We gotta see what they got. Minnesota, Sam Darnold, J.J. McCarthy, you got to play. Denver, Bo Nix, you got to play. You have to, right? Like Bo Nix, Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, I think is the third guy on their roster. They got to play. There ain't no sitting. You were a losing team. Jets, even if Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, Garrett Wilson, you got to play. Why are you sitting? What have you done? What have you won? Raiders, Devontae Adams, your ass need to be out there too. Because I don't give a damn about what happens with the quarterback situation. Clearly, you aren't doing enough in your craft to win ball games in Vegas either. You need to be building rapport with Gardner Minshew, who I think is going to be the starting quarterback, or Aiden O'Connell as well. Build that rapport with those guys. Chicago, play. Caleb Williams, he's a rookie. Let him make his mistakes in preseason. Houston, guess what? Y'all haven't done shit enough to be earning rest. Like, the Jaguars literally shit the bed. That's how you made the playoffs. You expect them with a Super Bowl head coach and Doug Peterson to shit the bed like that again? I don't. I think the Titans have gotten better. I think the Colts, if Anthony Richardson is healthy, has gotten better. So who the hell are you, after missing the playoffs the past 3 fucking years, finally make it, win a playoff game against fucking Joe Flacco? And you think you're too good to practice? Are you too good to play in the preseason? Dallas, guess what? Dak, your ass need to be out there. You ain't earned shit. I know CD's sitting out. Micah, your ass needs to be out there. Every starter needs to be out there. I know. I'm on my soapbox here, right? But it's really just a pet peeve. And it's a bigger pet peeve when losing teams feel like they have the same rights as winners. Because again, I think all 32 teams should have their starters play at least 2 to 3 games and at least 2 series within those games. But I will not stand for losers thinking they have the same rights. If I were commissioner of the NFL, I would make that mandatory. If you miss the playoffs, you cannot sit. And for damn sure, if you were under 500, which 13 teams were, 13 of the 18 that missed the playoffs were under 500. Excuse me. What are we doing? What gives you the right? You know what? Fans need to see you play. Why do I say that? Because shit, I need to know if I need to subject myself to 8 or 9 games of this. Because depending on the record, because you have 17 games, and even like I, as a fan who may be considering either season tickets or if I want to just kind of go on a game by game basis, I feel like I reserve the right that in the preseason, you guys should show me some things that warrant me being with you for the next 17 games for the regular season. Like, I know the second and third string guys, especially kind of at the quarterback and wide receiver positions and stuff like that, the likelihood of them getting in the game is slim to none. Like it's cool to watch some guys that you knew in college or seeing some guys fight for a spot, but if those guys are playing meaningful snaps for you, that means some crazy shit is happening, right? So as a fan, like we deserve, I feel like we've earned the right, we've paid for the right to know exactly what we're getting into. Like as a Saints fan, man, they showed us that shit in that first drive. We thought we was gonna get motion offense. We was gonna be taking deep shots. We was gonna be getting the ball out fucking. I think they had Chris Olave lining up at running back and shit like that. And we ain't do any of that in a regular season. But we only saw it for one series. One series. But maybe they didn't do it in a regular season because they didn't have enough work with it. And the reason why they didn't have enough work with it is because you played your fucking starters one time. One time the whole fucking preseason. Derek Carr played one series. It's the first year with your quarterback. First year in the new system. One series in the preseason. That can't happen. 9 of you have new quarterbacks. Yes, I said I'm including the Jets and Titans, but if you don't want to do that, 7 of you have new quarterbacks. They should be getting the reps. And I'm just talking about quarterbacks. We're not talking about wide receivers, offensive line, running backs, defensive line, DBs, safeties, head coaches, offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, position coaches. I didn't even go in the weeds of that shit. There's a lot of teams that have a lot of new shit. Come on. You got to be better. Maybe the reason why the NFL is having a shitty product nowadays, because y'all motherfuckers just don't practice and or play enough. And maybe we need to start reevaluating that, especially if the inevitable happens where we go to an 18-game regular season and a 2-game preseason. But this is getting old. I mean, even a Hall of Fame game isn't what it used to be. Teams used to take that seriously. The starters would play. I remember the teams that played in the preseason, the starters would play the whole first half because it's about honoring the guys that paved the way for you. They'll play the whole first half, then the backups will play, and then the starters might sit the second game. That's technically the first game. They may play a series in the second game or whatever. Then they do their dress rehearsal, and then obviously the preseason finale, the starters don't play. It's for the guys that are trying to earn a spot. I want to try to find a way to get to that happy medium again, because right now as a fan, it's just no bueno for me. Like it's just awful. And one, if I got to sit through a sorry ass Saints product, that's one thing. But what I've seen from the NFL as a whole, probably some of the worst football I've ever seen, from a quarterback standpoint, from the penalty standpoint, on both sides of the ball. It was just bad. But some of y'all, man, either y'all, I think if y'all don't change the ways of how you take preseason seriously, you're just kind of going through the definition of insanity. I'm expecting different results, but doing the same old thing. But off my soapbox, and that's the end of the day's show. And look, if there's anything I said that offended anyone, that's a good thing, right? It's an opportunity for me to learn. It's an opportunity for you to teach me. All I ask is that you keep it respectful. Peace.